I saw you yesterday, but I don't think
Next morning, we got everybody out, and I saw the first KIAs over mine. And I remember thinking, I asked them to trust me, and I promised them I'd bring them home. Those 10 guys did that I didn't. But also, you have the opportunity. Asking you to do something, and you know what you're asking them to do, and more likely to do that. Isn't that what soldiers do? It's guides out their weapon and there was nothing in it that could embarrass the responsibility. Know that there are so many others that have done things that there's no question because they were eyewitnesses as well. So I'm very proud to be able to those that these examples of ordinary people behaving in an extraordinary fashion can be inspiring, and they should be inspiring. I spent 8 months in Philadelphia in the hospital for wounds. That's where I saw heroism. I think it's all nurses that were volunteers that came and laid a hand on me and said, "You're going to be okay." Very much we went above and beyond and let you know that they love you. I really believe that I never truly reveal anybody until you know they serve. And I never truly serve anybody until you learn for something apart from yourself. Those who know about it do appreciate it, but I don't think it's important to appreciate the level or the living recipients. I think it's important for individual American citizens to understand how important sacrifice writ large is. And I think given the challenges that we have endured and the challenges that we are going to endure, Americans do appreciate how much you can accomplish. If you don't care who gets the credit, if you don't care if there's any recognition, and if you don't care, I didn't even see this. You do something positive. I think the American public doesn't understand. I didn't really want to do. I would do
Where? Wonderful. And he was just saying, did you ever meet Randy? He's the one with the red tie right there by the Medal of Honor. We have to introduce you.
One, two, one, two. Okay, we're about 5 minutes from getting started. As a reminder, please turn off your cell phones, stun guns, and anything else that would make a sound. Be careful what you say and do, because this thing is being streamed on the NCAA Facebook page, because it will be recorded for posterity.
Let me find out right now. So Allison. Perfect timing. The sun's coming out.
Yeah.
I'll click ourselves.
Hi, Alton.
Very nice. I'm the assistant director here at the Summit Center.
Okay. You have a card?
I will. I left them because I took
I'm
them.
going to give you my card.
I'll make sure you get it. I've been here since last May.
You must be from New Jersey.
Long Island.
Okay, I can tell you I'm from Philadelphia. My wife's from New Jersey. I'm from South Jersey.
So yeah, you got that twang.
Yeah, something about it.
Yeah.
I was in the class speaking last week and I said water.
What'd you say? It's water. Yeah. It's like, they always ask me.
Like, what to drink, right?
Yeah. They're like, what? So I said like quarter water. All your ERs turned to 8. They say, where are you from? I'm like, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I know you're not.
But yeah, Yeah, you can use me as a reference. Anything you need
Okay,
here,
okay.
on that way.
Okay. All right.
I've been kind of out of covering up in Sacramento Valley the last 6 weeks.
Okay.
Because of the flooding.
Okay.
So now
Did it damage any of the property?
the cemetery really took a beating, but we got some pumps in place and fixed it all right away.
Okay.
As soon as we got it to drain, it's in good shape.
Okay.
Quite a nice turnout you got here.
Not bad, right? Considering the weather.
Oh, I know.
All right.
Yeah. All right, man. Good meeting you. All right.
Good morning, veterans, distinguished guests, family, and friends. I'm Mike Goldward, and it is a privilege to serve as your Master of Ceremonies today. Welcome to Riverside National Cemetery, the National Medal of Honor Memorial, and our Medal of Honor Day ceremony. The Medal of Honor is reserved for those who have distinguished themselves by conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of their lives above and beyond the call of duty. Do we have the audio technician? We're back in business. Okay, now one of you has to stay real close. Today we remember the courage and selfless sacrifice of the 3,504 men and 1 woman, as well as the 19 double recipients who have been honored. Today, there are only 72 living recipients of the Medal of Honor. This is the 3rd Medal of Honor Day ceremony at Riverside National Cemetery. Thank you for being part of this ceremony. Today we begin our observance of National Medal of Honor Day with a ceremony here at the National Medal of Honor Memorial. Immediately following the ceremony, we invite you to visit the grave sites of the 5 Medal of Honor recipients interred in Riverside National Cemetery. Tour the National Prisoner of War Memorial, as well as the Veterans Memorial. Each of these latter 2 have ties to Medal of Honor recipients. We're honored to have with us the United States Marine Corps' 1st Marine Division Band. Thank you for helping make today even more special. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remain standing for the presentation of colors by the Riverside Memorial Honor Detail and the playing of our national anthem by the 1st Marine Division Band. Please render the appropriate salute at the appropriate time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chaplain Don Forden, VA Loma Linda Healthcare System, who will provide our invocation. Apparently, Chaplain Forden isn't here. Please be seated. We have representatives of several Medal of Honor recipients, family representatives of several Medal of Honor recipients with us today. Please welcome Ms. Kathy Ehlers-Metcalf, who is also a guest speaker today. She is the daughter of Medal of Honor recipient Walter Ehlers, formerly Staff Sergeant, United States Army. Sergeant Ehlers is interred at Riverside National Cemetery and was decorated for his actions of June 9 and 10, 1944 near Gauville, France, after landing at Normandy on June 6, 1944. Kathy, where are you? Mrs. Marilyn Page, the wife of Medal of... Where's our technician? Where's that guy? Where's the audio guy? Don't go far. Sorry. See, now you have to go over and sit on the end of that line. You can't leave. With us also. With us also is Mrs. Marilyn Page, wife of Medal of Honor recipient Colonel Mitchell Page, United States Marine Corps. Mitch was decorated for his actions of October 25 and 26, 1942 on the island of Guadalcanal. Mitch is buried here at Riverside National Cemetery. Marilyn, would you please stand? Are Tina Duran Rubalcaba and Jose Rubalcaba here? Please stand. Tina is the daughter of Medal of Honor recipient Jesus Duran, formerly Staff Sergeant, United States Army. He is buried in Olivewood Cemetery in downtown Riverside. Thank you for being here. Yvonne and Yvette Howard, please stand. Yvonne and Yvette are the daughters of Medal of Honor recipient First Sergeant Jimmy E. Howard, United States Marine Corps, who was decorated for his actions during the Vietnam War. He is interred at Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery in San Diego. Charlie Villegas, please stand. Charlie is the son of Medal of Honor recipient Staff Sergeant Ismael Villegas, who was decorated posthumously for his actions along the Villa Verde Trail on the island of Luzon in the Philippines during World War II. Staff Sergeant Villegas was the first person interred in Riverside National Cemetery. Go ahead. Among the other distinguished visitors who are present is the Honorable Randy Reeves, Undersecretary for Memorial Affairs, Department of Veterans Affairs. The Honorable Mark Takano, United States Congressman representing California's 31st Congressional District. The Honorable Richard Roth, Senator, California's 31st Senatorial District. Mr. Paul Atkins, Chairman of the Riverside National Cemetery Support Committee. Is Dee Dee Robler here? I now invite Mr. Paul Atkins, Chairman of the Riverside National Cemetery Support Committee, to provide our opening remarks.
Thanks, Michael. Let's give our Master of Ceremonies a round. On behalf of the Honorable Randy Reeves, Undersecretary for Memorial Affairs, United States Department of Veterans Affairs, and Mr. Pete Young, Executive Director of Riverside National Cemetery, it is my distinct honor and high privilege to welcome you to Riverside National Cemetery Medal of Honor Day. Today we celebrate those who have distinguished themselves conspicuously by gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of their lives above and beyond the call of duty. They are recipients of the Medal of Honor. We call them heroes. Oh, it happens. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Mrs. Adrienne Benton, our Assistant Director, for coordinating and putting this program together. Adrienne. We've had a few challenges. The weather wasn't very nice to us, and the winds are creating some issues, but we're veterans, we're veteran families, we're going to make it happen. So, lastly, at the conclusion of the ceremony, I invite you to take a moment and visit the final resting place of heroes John Henry Balch, Ismael Villegas, Mitchell Page, Walter Ehlers, and Louis Millette Sr. Medal of Honor recipients. You'll be able to easily identify each location by the roadside plaques with their name and their citation, along with the blue tent covering the burial sites. So if you get a chance, take a visit to our 5 Medal of Honor recipients. It's now my honor to introduce the Honorable Mark Takano, Congressman, 41st District. For more than 20 years, Mark has worked to improve the lives of Riverside County residents, both as an elected official and a teacher at Rialto High School. Born and raised in Riverside, that's good. The winds are unkind here. Born and raised in Riverside, Mark's commitment to public service began at an early age. His family's roots in Riverside go back to his grandparents, who along with his parents were removed from their respective homes and sent to Japanese American internment camps during World War II. After the war, these two families settled in Riverside County to rebuild their lives. Mark attended La Sierra High School, and in 1979, he graduated as the school's valedictorian. Mark attended Harvard College and received his bachelor's degree in government in 1983. Today, Mark Takano represents the people of the 41st Congressional District. He's chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee and serves on the House Education and Workforce Committee. Please welcome Congressman Mark Takano.
Well, thank you, Paul Atkins. Thank you, Paul Atkins. And let's give Paul and the Riverside Cemetery Support Committee a big round of applause for all the work they do. And my goal, where I remember the effort you and some of the civic leaders put forward, the effort that you made when this cemetery was going to welcome this memorial. I remember that day and being able to sit next to the honors next to Medal of Honor recipients. And isn't it magnificent that we see the fruit of that work here behind us? So congratulations, Mike. I never forgot the work that you and many of the civic leaders did. Another round of applause for Mike Goldware and that committee. And Director Young, this place is beautiful, and it's because of you and the hard work of your staff, the groundskeeping. This is it's a remarkable treasure we have here in Riverside, and now the largest in the country, largest national cemetery in the country. So Pete, thank you so much for your work. Round of applause for him. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I thank you for being here to show your gratitude, respect, and appreciation for the brave individuals who committed their lives to protecting our freedoms, and for showing your support for the families of these heroes who made immense sacrifices of their own. To all the veterans here today, and if I were to say stand-up veterans, nearly everybody here would be standing. To thank all of you, I sincerely thank you for your service. So as the chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee for the 116th Congress, I have the enormous privilege and responsibility to make sure that our veterans are well taken care of, that our cemeteries are also well taken care of, and that they meet the obligations that we promise to our veterans in exchange for their service. It's a distinct pleasure to be able to join you to celebrate National Medal of Honor Day at Riverside National Cemetery. Riverside County is home to the 8th largest veteran population, making our community a very special one. And Riverside National Cemetery is the most active national cemetery in the nation, thanks to our support committee, and thanks to our citizens, and thanks to the people here who love, honor, and cherish our veterans. And I'm very pleased to learn, as I told you before, that the VA National Cemetery Administration will be expanding Riverside National Cemetery. And we just acquired the old golf course, and that's what now makes it the largest cemetery in the country. We're lucky to have such a historic site right here at home, and to be able to address the evolving needs of our families and of our veterans and their families. I am tasked as the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee with being the advocate for our country's veterans and honoring their service and protecting the benefits that they have earned. And today, National Medal of Honor Day serves as a reminder of how important it is to take a moment to pause and reflect on the freedoms we enjoy, and remember those who defended our freedoms at home and abroad. I had the wonderful opportunity to speak to the wife of Colonel Page and the son of Colonel Page, and just the amazing story of how he defended an airfield, a very important airfield, with only 33 men against at least 2,400 Japanese troops. Incredible story. Each one of these Medal of Honor recipients has an incredible story, but to be able to have that moment to speak with a family member, that's the privilege of this job that I have. So we want to remember those, and to know that the preciousness of these freedoms is worth fighting for. The Medal of Honor rewards those who went above and beyond the call of duty to stand up for our ideals. And these recipients reflect the best of our country. Recipients such as Colonel Mitchell Page, Staff Sergeant Walter Ehlers, Staff Sergeant Ishmael Villegas, Colonel Louis Millett, Sergeant Jesus Duran, Corporal Tibor Rubin, and First Sergeant Jimmy E. Howard. The Medal of Honor recipients we are honored today here embody the idea of love of country and devotion to liberty. They reflect the courage and tenacity that has kept our country moving forward during our most difficult times. I just would like to ask the families, all the families here, and I imagine it would be everyone here, to please rise, all the families of the Medal of Honor recipients, to just please stand. Thank you sincerely for being here today and for sharing the stories of the heroes in your lives. The contribution of military families who often say goodbye to a loved one, not knowing if they'll return, deserve our recognition. We salute you and acknowledge you, the military families, for your sacrifices too. We salute you for the long goodbyes, the pangs of worry, and the loyalty and faith that you keep. Let us depart here filled with the inspiration of the deeds of our veterans, and let us remind ourselves of the debt we owe to them, and that the way we repay our debts to them is by ensuring that future generations not only know of their deeds, but of the preciousness of the freedoms they guarded. And to paraphrase President Lincoln, the best way to commemorate the lives of our veterans is to ensure that the government of the people, for the people, and by the people does not perish from this earth. Thank you all. God bless all of you, and God bless the United States of America.
I now have the honor to introduce our guest speaker, Catherine Ehlers Metcalf. Catherine Ehlers Metcalf has had a long association with the Medal of Honor, the first child of World War II Medal of Honor recipient Walter David Ehlers and his wife Dorothy. Kathy grew up in a house where the Army medal always hung framed on the wall, unless it was around her father's neck. Most of her father's closest friends were veterans, and many of them Medal of Honor recipients. In addition to a 30-plus year career as a university English instructor, Kathy has served on district and state level education committees and was heavily involved in school and extracurricular activities while raising 3 children. She traveled extensively with her father, coordinating his speaking engagements and facilitating his participation in Medal of Honor events. Kathy had the privilege of working with her father on his memoirs, documenting his years of service and incorporating his family's World War II correspondence. She is honored to continue to support the Medal of Honor Society family in her work since 2014 as Vice President of Education for the Congressional Medal of Honor Foundation. Please welcome Catherine Ehlers Metcalf.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here with you today, and especially to all those of you who are family via the Medal of Honor. Thank you for being here. I have had the privilege to attend National Medal of Honor Day ceremonies in Arlington, Virginia, both with my father before he passed away and since then. And I'd like to share a little bit with you about what happens on that day. As many living Medal of Honor recipients as can make the trip generally go to that event, and they spend a couple of days together with each other, getting reacquainted, catching up, and then they go to Arlington National Cemetery together, where they collectively, they choose a few representatives from amongst those who are there, and they lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldiers. And in case you didn't know this little bit of our history, each of those unknown soldiers has been awarded the Medal of Honor as a representative of his now branch of service. So it's a very symbolic and a very somber day and a very meaningful day, and it's an especially important day because for the last 11 years following that ceremony, the Medal of Honor recipients have recognized citizen heroes. We live in a time when fewer than 1% of our nation's population serves in the armed forces. They carry that weight for all the rest of us. And my thanks to all of you today who are part of that less than 1%. So Medal of Honor recipients decided it was important to note that heroism comes in all forms. And so they started a Citizen Honors Awards program. And every year they now recognize 2 individuals for individual acts of heroism, 1 individual for a lifetime of service, 1 community service group, and 1 young hero. And those people are awarded a specially designed medal based on the symbolism on the tombs of the unknown soldiers, and recognized for their service to their communities and this country. So it's a very wonderful day. But one thing I would point out is that we specifically, I talked with all the staff here about trying to get a Medal of Honor recipient to attend this program here. And last year, one of the issues was that the date was too close to National Medal of Honor Day, and we couldn't divide that up. So as you see, this year we're celebrating on March 2nd with the effort to get a Medal of Honor recipient here for you. And I think it speaks volumes that although all of us tried, we couldn't do it. There are only 72 in the entire country. The 3 that we have somewhat locally were not able to join us today. And I think it's important that we recognize that this is a very limited resource. One thing that the Medal of Honor Society did to attempt to preserve our special thanks to March Air Force Base and to whoever set that up. I'm going to interrupt myself and tell you a fun story. My father was invited to be the keynote speaker at the 50th anniversary of the Normandy invasion. And I worked with him on his speech. That was such a privilege, but I didn't get to go. So I was sitting there watching on TV, and I knew the speech by heart, of course, because we had worked on it together. And as he was speaking, at 3 different breaks in the content of the speech, where he had a natural pause written in, there were military flyovers of antique airplanes. And it was pretty darn funny because he was standing there with a breeze that makes this look like still air, blowing his notes around in the wind, so he'd pause and wait for the airplanes to go over. And people asked him afterwards, "How did you do that? That was incredible timing." And he said, "Beats me." So I feel especially privileged that I was part of that today. And also for those of you who were here at my father's funeral now almost 5 years ago, someone arranged, and I to this day don't know exactly how this happened, but we had a C-17 flyover from March Air Force Base, and that airplane came down over this memorial behind us. This whole area was filled with people. And I was sitting up here and could see my family in the front row. And as the plane went over, it flew so low and so loud that it set off the car horns in the parking lot. And I could see my brother in the front row kind of chuckling and mouthing to me, "Dad would think this was really funny." So my dad did have a sense of humor. But to return to the point and not hold us up here, I'm so glad that there are so many families represented here, but one thing that I would point out is that the Medal of Honor recipients, to a man, will tell you that the Medal of Honor action didn't happen in a vacuum. They were there with others, and there were many there who did Medal of Honor level acts of heroism that were never recognized because no one was there to tell their story. It took someone there to witness their story. And so Medal of Honor recipients are so very humbled and honored to recognize other veterans for what the privilege of being with my dad right up until the end of his life. He spent the last 8 days in hospice at the Long Beach Veterans Administration Hospital, where they took exceptional care of him. And my hat's off to the VA. They really did wonderful things for my dad. But during those 8 days, at one point my dad said, make sure that everybody knows that being awarded the Medal of Honor was the greatest honor of my life. And tell my Medal of Honor brothers that I love them. That's what a Medal of Honor is all about. The love for each other, the people they were fighting with, those of us they were fighting for, and most of all, for this country. Thank you so much.
Looks like our challenges are continuing. Anyway, I'm Pete Young. I'm the Executive Director here at Riverside National Cemetery, and thank you all very much for coming today. The entire team here at Riverside National Cemetery is very proud to have the Medal of Honor Memorial here, and we're thrilled to host this ceremony. I have a special treat for you today. We have a presentation by Haley Brown and Jeffrey Ellison. They're students from Riverside Unified School District and students at Martin Luther King Junior High School. And they have participated in our Legacy Project. And today they're going to present that Legacy Project to you, which is a story they did on our very first interment here, Ishmael Villegas. Haley?
Thank you. The year is 1924.
Several substantial events in history have happened during this time. The first ever Winter Olympics opened in January. The long fight for Native Americans to be declared U.S. citizens finally came to an end, and on March 21st, Ishmael R. Villegas was born in Casablanca, California. Villegas was the eldest of 13 children, and based on the recollections of friends and family members, he was one of the happiest. He grew up with an ordinary American childhood. He would hang up posters of his favorite musicians, maintain a job, and attend dances. He is remembered as one of the nicest and most outgoing people one could ever know, and his gregarious personality earned him the nickname Smiley, and the legacy that lives far beyond his time and born. Villegas enlisted in the Army at the age of 20 in 1944. He was listed as a staff sergeant in Company F, 127th Infantry Regiment in the 32nd Division. Villegas played a fundamental role during his time as an Army Staff Sergeant, earning decorations including the Purple Heart and the Silver Star. Months of rigorous training became serviceable to Villegas on March 20th, 1945, just one day before his 21st birthday. On this day, he gallantly led his squad at the Villa Verde Trail in Luzon in the Philippines.
While advancing forward, his troop came face to face with enemy fighters hidden in foxholes. He valiantly jumped into action, defending his squad from enemy fire. Grenades went off dangerously close, and bullets whizzed past his face. Still, he continued fighting of his own initiative. Villegas rushed from foxhole to foxhole, fighting the enemy himself. As he attacked the fifth foxhole, firepower against him increased, yet he continued to move forward towards the sixth. During the moments that Villegas spent defending himself and others from enemies, he was tragically hit and killed by enemy fire. He was the first veteran to be buried at Riverside National Cemetery in 1978, 33 years after his passing. Yes. On October 19, 1945, Villegas was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for his heroism and indomitable fighting spirit. He was the first of 3 Riverside men to receive this honor. In remembrance of his acts of heroism, Riverside dedicated a park, a community center, and the Ishmael R. Villegas Middle School to him, as well as a monument located in front of Riverside City Hall in 1995. His insurmountable courage will stand as a model for generations to come, and his noble sacrifice will not be forgotten. Thank you.
Now it's my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker. Randy C. Reeves was nominated by President Donald Trump to serve as the 6th Undersecretary for Memorial Affairs and was confirmed by the United States Senate on November 8, 2017. As Undersecretary, he leads 136 national cemeteries in providing dignified burial services for veterans and eligible family members. His responsibilities include maintaining the cemeteries as national shrines, design and construction activities related to the establishment of new national cemeteries, overseeing memorial programs to honor the service of veterans, including the provisions of headstones, markers, medallions, and presidential memorial certificates, administering federal grants to help states, territories, and tribal governments establish veteran cemeteries. Prior to his confirmation, Mr. Reeves served as the Executive Director of the Mississippi Veteran Affairs Board from 2011 to 2017. Mr. Reeves also served as the President of the National Association of State Directors of Veterans Affairs in 2017, an organization whose members serve and represent our nation's 22 million veterans. Mr. Reeves originally entered military service in 1980 when he enlisted in the United States Air Force. He served for 8 years as an enlisted man in the Air Force and was commissioned as an officer in the United States Navy in 1988. During his 27-year military career, he served at sea and ashore in various positions, including command. He is a veteran of Operation Desert Storm and the global war on terrorism, with multiple deployments during combat operations. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Pete. It is an honor to be here and to be able to be in a place that honors and loves its veterans like the Riverside area. I am truly humbled to be here and to honor and remember America's Medal of Honor recipients. As I walked through the memorial earlier, I saw names that I recognized and names of people that I know personally. Some of these heroes earned the medal posthumously, and others are living examples of the greatness and courage of the United States of America. They embody all that is great about this country. In earning the Medal of Honor, they each reached well beyond themselves and did this for their country, for their comrades in arms, their shipmates, their fellow airmen, soldiers, and fellow Marines. They did it for all of us, and they did it for the families that they left at home. They were ordinary Americans who exhibited extraordinary courage and valor. Those who wear the Medal of Honor will tell you themselves that they wear it for our nation. But most of all, they will tell you that they wear it for those that did not come home. We honor them today, and we remember what is best about this great nation and about the people who make it up, wherever they may come from. I've been personally very fortunate to meet, talk to, and visit with many Medal of Honor recipients over the years, several of whom have become my dear friends. Watching them, I've witnessed humility and selflessness, I've witnessed the best of America. At the National Cemetery Administration, we have one vision, and that is to ensure that no veteran ever dies. It's said that each and every one of us die 2 deaths. We die the first death when breath leaves us for the last time, but we only truly die sometime in the future when no one speaks our name or tells our story. As we've heard here earlier, there are 5 Medal of Honor recipients who are interred right here in this cemetery. John H. Balch, Mitchell Page, Walter Ehlers, Ishmael Villegas, and Lewis Millett Sr. Also here are family members from the Howard family, the Rubin family, I believe, the Duran family, and today we also honor the Lara family. For as long as we tell the stories of these great Americans, and as long as we say their names, they will live forever. And their heroism and their sacrifice will never be forgotten. Yesterday, as I came here to the cemetery, I had the opportunity again, as I did when I've been here before, to visit the POW MIA Memorial that is at the entrance, near the entrance of our cemetery. That is a powerful tribute to the courage and to the unbreakable spirit of America's heroes. Of Captain Lance Sijon, whose plane went down over Laos during the Vietnam War. And Captain Sijon evaded the enemy and evaded his captors for 43 days. And he was later taken captive and later died in captivity. But before that happened, he resisted the North Vietnamese through torturous beatings and through his own injuries that he had sustained. He held true to America, and he held true to his comrades, and he was never broken until the day he died. For what he did in captivity, he earned posthumously the Medal of Honor. That sculpture was done and created by Lewis Millett Jr., the son of Medal of Honor recipient Lewis Millett Sr., who is interred here. And Lewis Jr. was not able to be here with us today, but I would be telling him, and I will tell each of you, he served too in Vietnam. And he, through his continued effort to honor our veterans, is the embodiment of that honor which is passed from father to son in honoring America and honoring our veterans and those who have served. It is a legacy of honor that I believe his father would be proud that he carries on, just like you other family members of our Medal of Honor recipients here carry that legacy of honor that they've passed to each of you. Not long ago, I was able to visit with my longtime friend, a man by the name of Herschel Woody Williams. Herschel Woody Williams earned the Medal of Honor as a Marine on Iwo Jima in World War II. And he's the last living recipient of the Medal of Honor from Iwo Jima. But what is most impressive to me, in addition to his military service and his bravery, is that he continues to serve at 96 years old. And I would have a hard time keeping up with him, even though he's 96. He travels across the country, and he raises money, and he works with communities and others to honor our Gold Star families who gave us the greatest gift that we could ever have. Their husbands, their wives, their sons, their daughters, so that we could have our freedom. And he served for many, many years after he retired from the military, serving other veterans in the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Years ago, as a young airman, I learned about Colonel Leo Thorsness, who earned the Medal of Honor over the skies of Vietnam. His story is one of exceptional valor. And a couple of years ago, I was at an inauguration reception honoring our Medal of Honor recipients, and Colonel Thorsness was there not too long before his death. What truly brought me to my knees and brought tears to my eyes was the fact that Colonel Thorsness, as great as he was, although he was in great pain and suffering from ailments that would soon take his life, he made sure to acknowledge me. He was determined, the gentleman he was, to give deference to me in my position. And that day, his greatness really showed through to me because of his courtesy, and because even though I could never compare to the man that stood before me, he gave me the courtesy of a gentleman, and that is the greatness of our Medal of Honor recipients. I share these stories with you today and the names of these men because of the selfless service and greatness they all have in common. I share because I've been blessed to have been touched by these great individuals, by the best of America. And I share this with you to ensure that these veterans will never die. I'm sure many of you in this audience, and again, especially our family members here, have similar stories of our Medal of Honor recipients like we just heard from Ms. Ehlers. Thank you so much. Stories of their grace and of their strength, both at home and both in service to our country. And again, thank you for allowing me these few moments just to speak to you and to be a small part of this wonderful ceremony. And may God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless all who have served and continue to serve this great nation. And may God bless these United States of America. Thank you.
Thanks, Undersecretary Reeves. It has been my good fortune to have worked with and learned from more than 90 recipients of the Medal of Honor. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard them say, in almost these exact words, I didn't do anything special. I was just doing my job. Can you imagine what each of us could do individually or collectively if we did our jobs the way they did theirs? Success and excellence would take on whole new meanings. Thank you again, Undersecretary Reeves. We're now going to take part in a wreath presentation ceremony. Mr. Undersecretary, if you would take that of Colonel Millets and start the placement ceremony. By the way, while he's doing that, let's give a nice round of applause and thanks to the crew and staff of Riverside National Cemetery for moving into place to hold those wreaths. Paul Atkins, would you take Sergeant Lara's? Marilyn Page, would you come up and take Mitch's? Kathy Metcalf, would you come up and take your father's? Congressman Takano, would you please take John Bulge's? Would the two Howard daughters please come up and take their fathers? Senator Roth, would you come up and take Tabor Rubens? Charlie and China Villegas, would you come up and take Ismael's wreath? And Tina Rubalcaba, would you please take Sergeant Duran's? Notice again the staff of the National Cemetery moving into place to make sure those wreaths stay in place. Outstanding, guys, outstanding. Thank you all for participating in this wreath presentation. Please welcome Mr. Leon Burton, dedicated RNC employee and veteran, who will perform You Raise Me Up.
Down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burden be, I am still and wait here in the silence for you to come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Attention to detail is important. There are those among us who adapt, who improvise, who overcome. Wendy Allaire, please stand up. Some of us caught this move. I was not one of them, but Congressman Takano was. When one of those wreaths went down, Wendy took out needle and thread and put that wreath back together again. Thank you, Wendy. Let us take a few moments to remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice and service for our beloved country. Please stand for rifle volleys provided by the Riverside Memorial Honor Detail and the playing of taps by the 1st Marine Division Band. Please render the appropriate salute with the first note of taps.
Buglers, sound attention. Detail, change, hut. Left, peace. Forward, hook. Ready, aim. Ready, aim. Ready, aim. Freeze, aim.
seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Director of Riverside National Cemetery, Mr. Pete Young.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. I want to thank you all for coming, and I'd also like to invite you to our next few ceremonies. Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans, March 30th. Memorial Day observance will be May 27th, and Concert for Heroes, program near and dear to Mike's heart right here on July 3rd. Please drive safely, and again, thank you for coming.